Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mastering Your Tech Stack, a practical audit for success. My name's Miles. I'm here on behalf of Paddle to run this session and workshop for you today. This is part of the Ignite Hospo program, which has been running now for a couple of months, which has been focused on bringing together the greater ecosystem of the hospitality industry in order to provide sustainability and tackling some of the challenges that we're required to get our teeth into and bring in expertise from all different areas in order to solve and build a solid, sustainable future for the industry. And Paddle's been heading that up along with a number of our fantastic partners and making those resources, sessions, and activities available for people to get involved with. At Paddle, we're really focused on simplifying technology, and our real focus is about how do we go about training, upskilling, and onboarding staff to technology and making that as easy as possible for you. And the first place that we generally start is by looking at a tech stack and what does that look like and how do we approach that, from making sure that your tech stack is working for your people, but also you have the ability to bring people on board and make sure that they're using your technology and everything that goes along with that as efficient and, I guess, as effective as possible. So my name's Miles Lynch. I'm VP of Growth Ops here at Paddle. If anyone has any questions following the session, would love to pick those up and more than happy to take you through some more detail. So we'll get things kicked off. And when we talk around a tech stack, we're talking about all the different types of apps, tech solutions, and everything that you have available to that you're operating in your business. And as we run through this session, I would like you to think about a couple of questions, a couple of quick ones, and you might not know the answers to these straight away, but it's definitely worth thinking about. And I'm guessing that your initial response is probably not going to be the response that you have at the end of this session. So the first one is, how many different apps or tech tools does your business use daily? This is not just about you personally. It might be across your staff. It might be your peers. It might be people that you're working with. How many different apps or tech tools does your business use daily? I'll give you a moment to think about that. And whatever number that you had in your head there when that first jumped to mind, we know that small, medium business, and in particular in the hospo space, use on average anywhere around 30 different apps or tech tools on a daily basis. So not sure whether you're under or whether you're over, but it's definitely worth thinking about. The next question is, how much is your monthly or annual spend on your tech? Do you even know what this figure is? Have you separated this out in terms of your operating costs? Is it something that you think about? Is it something that you monitor? Again, when we've gone out and we've spoken to a large number of businesses, in particular in the hospitality industry, and quite often they're underestimating their spend. And as I said, estimation is not necessarily the best way to go about this. You need to know what you're spending on your tech. Third question, how much time do you spend on training, onboarding, and resolving staff-related tech issues or tech-related issues on that side? Time is money. Time is opportunity cost to be spending on the business. How are you bringing your people up to speed to get the most out of this tech that you're investing in? And the last question to think about was, when's the last time you reviewed or even audited your tech stack? Because it's something that you do. No shame in saying no, because these things seem to accumulate over time, and sometimes we don't allocate the time to do this. But think about this, and hopefully we can change your mind at the end of this session. So let's jump in, and we'll take a bit of a hospo focus as we go through this. And when we're talking about hospitality, we're talking about food and bev, we're talking about accommodation, hotels, everything that's really focused on a service-related business. And why all the tech? Why do we have all this tech? Well, firstly, we're looking to enhance efficiency. So we're looking at things that we can automate, ultimately trying to save time. We've got a lot of staff that are often using our technology. We're trying to reduce the errors or the way in which they go about their processes. So enhancing efficiency is one of the reasons that we use so much tech. Reducing costs, when we're looking at things like paying for a technology, we're ultimately trying to create some operational efficiencies, and hopefully we're lowering the cost or the resources that we're putting into to get that outcome. Enabling scalability. Service-related businesses are always focused on more people delivering output. Tech is a great way to allow multiple tasks or automate tasks. That means that you can actually grow your business, grow your offering without throwing just human capital at those resources. And improving collaboration. So how do we make those people that we have in our business more effective? How are they communicating with each other? How is teamwork working? And tech can really provide a strong collaboration, especially if we're dealing with multiple sites or dealing with multiple teams within a business. Data-driven decision making. And this is important when we're making decisions about our business, whether that's on a customer experience side, whether that's talking about our operations or what that is. Having the data available for us can provide insights. Having the data available to us can also provide us with benchmarking so we can actually track how those decisions that we're making are improving over time. So tech is really important in providing that. Lastly, enhancing customer experience. Most of us here today are in a customer-facing business or a service business that's dealing directly with customers. Tech can enhance our customer experience in multiple different ways. It can be from the way that they reserve or engage, book a table at a restaurant. It can be the way that they provide a review afterwards. It can also provide the way that they order or engage when they're actually in and providing the service. So this is a really important part of technology, and this is changing day to day. So we've got all this tech, and maybe you've got 30 apps, maybe you've got 50 apps, maybe you've got 100 apps. Why do I need to audit my tech stack? And this is really about looking at the costs and benefits of technology, and being able to audit those gives us an opportunity to visualize this and actually see why, what we have, and what that actually means to us. So we always start with dollar signs. Cost savings. We have an opportunity when we look at all these apps that we're using to identify potentially redundant tools that we might have had previously that are no longer being used. We might even just have some unnecessary tools that are there. This might be providing really short return in terms of what we're actually paying or employing those tools to actually do. Improved efficiency. So a lot of the time, technology and tech solutions have a range of different features or workflows that we don't actually use or implement in our business. When we look at these tools and we actually understand what we have, maybe we could be using things better in terms of integrating them into other parts of the business. Maybe we could also be using different features that will allow us to improve efficiency in the way that we're actually using those tools. A huge one, and one we deal with day to day at Paddle, is around increased user adoption. So when we look at our tech stack, often we talk around simplifying your tech stack, and that's important for the people that are in your business as well as the operational side of things. But simplifying also doesn't mean, hey, we're stripping back the amount of tech that we're using. It might be understanding and simplifying the use case for each of those different parts of technology. That makes it easier for us to relate or pass that on in terms of training and onboarding our staff so that they get used to and understand why they're using the tech and getting greater adoption and more efficiency ultimately in the business. Better decision making. Again, we're talking around these data-driven insights. And this could be better decision making around your operations, but it can also be better decision making around your tech stack as it is. Understanding how much you're spending, who's using these applications and what they're actually used for is another great way for you to actually see what data is there and make a more appropriate decision. And one we couldn't leave off with one of our supporters of Ignite Hospitality, Synergy IT, around enhanced security and compliance. This is a huge thing that's coming up, and it's been there for a while, but it's becoming more and more important, in particular in small, medium businesses. It's important to understand that the tech that we're using, and is it up to date? Is the software that we're using supported? Is there any security risks or compliance issues that we need to be aware of? Cyber attacks are becoming increasingly prevalent in hospitality, and this comes from attacks against the business, but also understanding how we're collecting data and what are we doing and how do we need to be aware of what data we're capturing from our customers from a service perspective as well. So this is definitely something that we should know about. And this is often supported by these different tech providers and solutions, but we need to know how that fits in. And is this the way or the risk that we want to take on? So common signs, how do I know if I need to do an audit? Well, you need to do an audit, but there's a few things that you might see in your business from day to day that trigger, hey, maybe I need to look at some certain things around my technology, or I need to start again. Rising costs. If you all of a sudden go, wow, I'm seeing the cost that I'm paying for technology going up, this means that we need to have a look at it. It may be that there's underutilized tools. It might be that you have multiple tools, but it might just be that the costs are going up and you just need to be aware of that. Interesting to understand how tech providers are charging as well for the tools. You need to understand whether it's because your usage or you're actually selling or servicing more. Maybe that's the reason for your rising costs, or it may be that there's just been price increases across the board. It's important to know this, and this helps you provide and understand the decisions that you're making. Operational inefficiencies. Are some of the processes that you're seeing slowing down? Are some of the systems that you have in the business being a little bit more disconnected? Are you noticing that teams are struggling to use the technology or not using it at all? And remember that when we're implementing technology, there needs to be a return or a benefit. And if this is not coming clear, then we need to look at it. We need to understand what that potentially is. Mentioned this before about redundant and overlapping tools. This just means we're spending more money. We're also losing efficiency in people using different places. Let's look at this and make sure that everything's aligned. Low user adoption. Again, you might notice this, that employees actually start to avoid using certain tools, and they might go about the way of using processes and dealing with operational tasks or dealing with customers that aren't actually aligned with how you want the technology to be used. This means that you're not getting the full benefit of that, but it also might be an inefficient use of the employee's time. So if you're finding that employees are not using the tech in the business, this is a bit of a red flag that maybe we need to look at the way in which we're training and onboarding those staff and getting them up to speed and making sure that it's clear about how we're actually using the tech and why it's important to the business. Another part is frequent support requests. So how much time are you spending allocating to onboarding new users, training new staff, and supporting basic problems related with technology? If you're spending time on this, this is time that you're not spending on the business. It's also an opportunity for you to create efficiency, because often when you're getting frequent requests, support requests, it's the same questions, it's the same issues that are coming over again. So these are things that you should be looking at, saying, hey, I'm getting this all the time, maybe there's an issue with the way that my tech is operating, but it also may be how I'm training and onboarding my staff. So what is an audit? Well, really, it can be anything that you want it to be, and it can have multiple different inclusions. I'm going to be sharing a template for you with a basic tech audit, but remember that this can be flexible and it's relevant to the tools that you have. But a few of the common inclusions in a tech audit is inventory. Simply listing all the tools that you use can give you a great insight in terms of, wow, I've got a complicated tech stack, or maybe I've got a really small, efficient tech stack and it's easy to manage and I might not need to go so deep on my audit. But understanding what you've got is a great start. You're going to look at usage from this side. Who's using the tools and how often are they used? This is a great gauge to determine whether or not these tools are being utilized to their maximum efficiency. How many licenses do you have associated with those tools? But usage alone is not telling us exactly what happens. We also need to understand the importance and relevance to the business, whether it's business critical or not. But this will also give you an idea of the prevalence of the tool and how important it is across a multiple number of people. Cost analysis in an audit. This is where a lot of people like to start. How tech providers, tech solutions, tech tools are charging these days can be quite confusing. Sometimes there's a few tricky little tricks that they might try throughout their billing process, but it can be looking at whether this is a subscription fee. Am I paying monthly? Do I have an opportunity to get a discount if I pay annually? What does my contract look like? Sometimes when we're signing up for these things, there's ways that we need to back out. And another one that we're seeing constantly with the businesses that we're talking to is around foreign exchange payments. How does your tool bill? Is it in Australian dollars? Fantastic. If I'm paying US dollars, I'm not paying the same amount every month because there's some foreign exchange. And is there a charge on top of my credit card that's associated with actually paying that invoice? Can be significant as it builds up over time. And we need to be aware of how we're paying for all this stuff. Integrations. Are these tools integrated with others? Sometimes when we look at a tool or a piece of technology, we have some key business critical tools that sit in the business and we build off those. It's important to know what are the key tools that we have in a business because it's going to impact which tools we can change out. What is the actual cost if we were to change over or select other tools? It's important to know that these critical tools, where they sit in the business, and how deep are we going, and making sure that they're operating efficiently. Training and support. Again, let's look at what type of training and support is available for each of these tools. How are you doing this personally within a business? When I say personally, is it you that's going around and telling staff how to do this? Are you getting support from your tech providers? Or are you sending them off to a website, a help center, an academy to do this? Understanding how this is done and providing a consistent approach across your business is a really key way to get adoption, efficiency, and get people using your tech the right way. And the last part, when we look at all of this stuff, when we do, I guess, a bit of a review of the tech tools that we have, we're doing efficiency and return on investment. So we can make a decision, are our tools delivering the value that we want? And are there any tasks that are being unnecessarily duplicated? Is it worth continuing with these particular tools? Yes, tick. Is there something that we can do in terms of renegotiating contracts with our providers? It gives us an opportunity to actually understand, what are we doing with this tool? How does it fit within our business, and what does it mean? So what do you need for an audit, or my audit, whatever that may be? Not much. You can do it with a pen and paper if you really need to be. We really stress on just getting started. There are a few things that definitely help when we're doing this. So there's a few tools: Google Sheets, Excel. Another tool is Airtable, and of course the paddle template. Having something standard that you can use, or a template that you can start with, is great before you need to start to modify. It takes a lot of thinking process that's out of it. But the great thing about Google Sheets and Excel is something that you can easily store, you can adapt, you can manipulate over time, and it provides that benchmark. So making sure that you're using a tool that you can compare, draw insights from over time is really important. Techniques. How do I know what I've got? How do I know how people are using it? Well, just use your usage reports from your software providers. Potentially, you can log into your account. You can see how many seats there are. Often they provide how often things are being used. Sometimes you have to dig a little bit deep on these things, and that's some of the tricks and the ways that they, I guess, shield some of the key questions, or the usage questions that people have around their software. So understanding that, jump into your apps, look at the usage reports. You can survey or interview staff. This is something that's probably medium term as we move forward, but it's really important to understand how your staff are using these tools. This is another thing when we talk around efficiency and ROI. Do your staff enjoy using these tools? Do they find it easy? Do they find it difficult? It's really important to understand that how they are using them. Getting their direct feedback will provide you with some insight on the tools that you have. Another cheeky little tip that is to check your credit card statement or your accounting software. Checking your credit card statement is a great way for seeing subscription-based fees that are being taken out. Often they go unnoticed and you just kind of pay your credit card off. This is also a great way to check things like foreign exchange, and are you getting billed in US dollars or Great British pounds, or whatever that may be. It's a great visual idea to say, hey, this is tech that I'm using, and these are some of the things that I need to be aware of. If I'm paying in US dollars, am I getting slugged another 2% charge on top of that as well? So tips on getting started: start small. It's really easy. You might want to start focusing on one department or category. And when we talk around that, this comes down to, how do you break up your business? If you're a small business with 5 people, it might just be looking at everyone all together. But if you've got a business of 30 people, let's imagine that you've got a commercial kitchen, and you've got retail outlets, and you've got head office people. That may be the way that you split that up. You may also split your categories or your people up via location. Is another way to do that from a tech perspective. Or you might just want to focus on sales and marketing tools that you're using, ordering or inventory software that you're using. But starting small is a great way to get some momentum, and every incremental benefit that you get from that might mean more efficiency, more dollars in the bank, everything that goes along with that. And creating a routine around this, and this is why we mentioned earlier around using tools like Google Sheets and Excel. Audits are great. You're going to get immediate benefit from that, but also doing it over time allows you to effectively manage this. Can't stress enough the initial investment. There is some time that's associated with doing this, but once you put that initial investment in and you start the process and you create a routine, the amount of time you're going to be spending on auditing will significantly reduce every time that you go in. It also allows you to add new tech. And we know that there's new tech every day. We know that people are changing things in and out. We know that pricing is changing. It's important to stay on top of this. So creating a routine, and this is not necessarily something that you're going to be doing weekly. A biannual audit might be sufficient for your business, but understanding that there is some sort of routine there is going to be pretty important for you. As I said, starting is the key to success, and getting started in a short term when we start our audit is basically let's complete a full inventory of the tools that we have. And you also have the ability to prioritize in that. So what are the tools that are business critical? Let's see everything that we've got, and let's actually audit and select ones that we really want to review. They might be the high cost tools that you have in your business, or it might even be looking at the low cost tools in your business and understanding or the low impact tools that you want to address. Medium term, this is where you want to start to add some color and some detail to your audit. This is around engaging stakeholders. So speak to your staff, speak to people, customers on their engagement with how those apps are going. This allows you to say, hey, this is working really well, but it doesn't do this. But it also might open some opportunities from employees saying, hey, we could be using this feature and it would make my job a lot easier. It might also be a great way to add some color to your audit. And lastly, long term, this is where we're starting to think about a strategy around optimizing our tech stack. So this is where an audit is really great. It's starting to look at things like, how do we get our tech stack running as lean and as efficient as possible? It may be looking at a strategy around, hey, how often are we going to be looking at changing some of these major apps? What's the strategy for looking outside in terms of renegotiating contracts with our suppliers? Look at our strategy in terms of how we're onboarding our staff and making sure that when we bring new people on, how are we optimizing their use of our tech stack and reducing the resources that's involved in applying time to get them up to speed. So think of it in three buckets. You've got short-term, medium, long-term. And again, this is an iterative approach. Can't stress enough, getting started is the key to success. So that is the presentation part of the workshop. The next part I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up and we're going to see if anyone wants to jump on live. I'm going to stop the recording and we're going to share a paddle template that you can actually jump into and you can understand how this might be used in your particular business and hopefully get some value out of actually getting started with your tech audit today.